I love you. Welcome back to the couch potatoes for another TV Talks. It's a very exciting one today. So exciting they canceled it. I am the Green Traveler from Gorsh.
I am the Faceless Leo, and this is a podcast about movies and TV. It's about TV today. And we decided to watch this because of a certain actor involved and a certain writer involved. And
I was going to say. I decided on no actors, but you were right. It was the writer that brought me in.
And anyhow, I don't know. I don't know about you, but if you're out there and you're like, "Oh, I am curious about this show. I haven't watched it," and then you hear, "Oh, it got canceled. Maybe I won't try it." Well, here we are to tell you if you should or not, I guess.
That's the basis of it, really. Because when you mentioned, hey, they did a Time Traveler's Wife. That's what we're talking today. HBO Max's Time Traveler's Wife.
That's right.
You're like, hey, do you want to watch this that has Rose Leslie in it? And you're like, I'm partial to her. And I was just like, who the fuck's Rose Leslie? And I looked her up and I was just like, I don't recognize this person. It's because she's in Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
I haven't watched much of Game of Thrones.
She's Ygritte, who plays opposite Jon Snow. And her and Kit Harington actually got married afterwards.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I recognized it now. Yeah. Once I saw that she was in Game of Thrones and I saw who she was, I was just like, oh, it's that lady. Okay, that's cool. I understand. I think I've said it on the podcast before. Game of Thrones. I love the books. I've been in love with the books for a long time. But the biggest hurdle with the television show is they have no faith in their audience understanding exposition unless there's boobs or sex on the screen. And I just can't stand shows that do that. It's really fucking annoying.
Not her scenes, though. I'm not going to say it doesn't
some of her scenes.
But it's not...
I can think of...
It's not... I don't feel like there's that much exposition in that scene. It's more of her, claiming ownership of Jon Snow. Which, the sex made sense. I felt.
Yeah. Yeah, it's harder to do that up north where there's a lot less women. and they're too afraid to go into, gay relationship stuff. At least in the first season.
No, yeah, they definitely have it later. Yeah.
Yeah, later, yeah. In up north, though, I feel like that's a no-go story zone for that.
Oh, yeah. Buggery might be a bit, maybe.
At least in the books, it's kind of frowned upon.
I don't know. I feel like the free folk are pretty free.
That's true. That is true about the free folk. Well, I just meant, in the books, I remembered that there was just, there wasn't a lot of sex going on up north unless it was with if they escaped from the wall for a couple days and...
Yeah, I feel like you'd probably get targeted if you found out that you're having a relationship. But I'm sure it happened, with all the years that the wall existed. We are not talking about this show right now.
Well, no, I just got off on a tangent. The thing was, I thought it was hilarious because you mentioned the show to me. You're like, it's got this actor, Rose Leslie. It's also got Theo James from the Divergent series, I think. Never watched him. Divergent. Oh, he was in Underworld Awakening and Blood Wars. Interesting. I don't remember. This is the first time I've remembered.
There's two Underworld movies that we haven't covered, and they're the two I haven't seen.
Oh, that's fair. I've seen them all, and I don't remember them in them. But I'm not, I like the Underworld series, but I'm not, super attached to him or anything, and I don't remember him in them. But it was funny to me because I Wikipedia'd the show, like I always do. And the first, name on there is written and developed by Stephen Moffat. Now, Stephen Moffat was the second showrunner of the renewed series of Doctor Who. They rebirthed it in 2005, continuing the story. No, it's a connection to the story, but it was on hiatus for less than 20 years.
Matt Smith,
which is crazy,
and Peter Capaldi were his two doctors.
Yeah, and he wrote a lot during the Russell T Davies years when Russell T Davies was the showrunner, including the best episode of the show, and one of the best episodes. There's a lot of really good episodes, but Blink in the David Tennant years, where they first introduced the Weeping Angels. So it's like Stephen Moffat's a great writer. I love him. A lot of people complain about his incredibly, excessively convoluted plots. I can agree. Mm-hmm. He does like to go off on crazy ass tangents, but I think that's why I like him, because we're tangent takers, me and him. Yeah, we're both just like, we just go.
Yeah.
And so I thought it was funny, though, because you were just like, it's got these two actors, and then I texted back, you could have said it's got this, Stephen Moffat wrote it, and you're like, oh, I didn't even know that.
So you've also read the novel that this series is based off of, and there was
way back when I was a kid.
It was like kind of pitched as a rom-com, but it definitely was not that comedic. But there was a movie that came out when we were kids as well, and I liked the concept of that movie. Like, it's been too long for me to say if it's a good movie or not, but I love the concept. Right. So when I heard that this show was coming out, and it was Rose Leslie, who I really like, as Claire Abshire, I was like, oh yeah, I'd like to do this, and I was going to watch it whether if you wanted to do it or not.
Right, yeah, it would have become a faceless pitch, yeah. And that's for sure. And I've seen the movie too, and I think that's where I got my crush for Rachel McAdams as a kid.
That's true. That's fair.
I love a good romance. Mm-hmm. I'm on record in many, many episodes now saying that romance is one of my favorite genres. I love it. It's a great story. And I remember reading it as a kid and being like, this is so good. I really love this. This is so, getting made fun of in school because I was reading a romance and everybody's just like, what the fuck? And I'm like, it's sci-fi. Shut up. Oh, my dog's going off. Hold on a second. We'll give her, you okay, babe? Yeah, you protect. Good girl.
Good job.
But yeah, it is, good job, Zelda. Yeah. But it was fascinating. But like, I was gonna be on board with the show just because Stephen Moffat was developing it. I said this to you many, many times when we were watching the show. He had already perfected this story in Doctor Who. He did a little thing called River Song. Yeah, it's wonderful. I love River Song. I know there's a lot of people who don't love River Song. They can go fuck themselves. She's awesome. I love her. And I just kind of wish they would have brought her back, because they did her for Matt Smith and Peter Capaldi, and then they kind of were just like, all right, we finished her story. That that's good. Right. I get it, but I'd love to see just like one adventure with Jodie Whittaker and River Song.
She is a time traveler.
Exactly. Yeah, she's part Time Lord herself. It'd be nice. I'd love it. And, well, she's not Time Lord, but she's birthed in the TARDIS. It's hard to explain
why she didn't regenerate again. But we're not talking about that show.
There's an episode where she gives up the last of her regenerative energy to Matt Smith, because he takes the brunt of it. It's in Let's Kill Hitler Part 2. If you really want to know.
Okay, well, spoilers for that show. We talked about, I think, 3 different shows before we actually started talking about The Time Traveler's Wife. But we are here now.
Well, that's fair. I mean, this show's been canceled. Why do we need to talk about it? I'm kidding.
That's not true. We gotta let the people know if it's worth watching. We gotta let them know.
You're right.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of good shows that have been canceled before their prime. There's Carnivale. I watched Carnivale as a kid, and I really enjoyed that. But it's a very cool thematic thing about a carnival. But it was like the ultimate good versus evil, kind of like Lost. How there's a lot of subtext and a lot of character lines and everything. Lost was under threat of being canceled throughout its entire run. So I don't know. There's a lot of good shows with strong stories and stuff like that. So yeah, let's talk about it. Let's decide if it's one of those.
Who's gonna synopsisize?
I don't mind. I can do it. I can do it.
Do you want to?
I'll do it. I'll do it.
You do.
I mean, it shares pretty much the same concept as the novel, and as the movie before it. The novel, by the way, is written by Audrey Niffenegger, just to give her a shout out. And the show itself is directed, I think every episode is directed by David Nutter.
Yes, it
love David Nutter. But David Nutter, though, he's got, he's got a pretty extensive TV directing career. X-Files, Game of Thrones itself, he's done some episodes. But the ones I remember are the Green Arrow and the Flash pilot episodes. He did both of those. So I remember those. I think actually I remember watching the pilot with you of Green Arrow and both of us laughing when his name came on screen. Because it was just like directed by David Nutter. And we were just like...
Sorry, David. You know what I thought? I was like... When I saw that, I was like, somebody didn't want to put their name on this.
Yeah, it's like that, oh man, what's the name everybody dumps off on for directors? I can't remember what it is.
I don't remember.
It happened at Aliens 3. That was one of them that, the director of Aliens 3, David Fincher, I think, was just like, I don't want my name on this. Like,
oh boy,
this was not my product.
I forget though. I know what you're talking about, but I forget.
But The Time Traveler's Wife. It's about a time traveler's wife. As you said, Claire Abshire, played by Rose Leslie. Also played by two younger actors when they have, kid actors for her. Everly McDonnell and Caitlin Shorey, playing young and preteen Claire, respectively. But yeah, Claire, is basically groomed. We'll talk about that. But basically, from childhood to adulthood, she meets a time traveler who comes back and spends time with her in a field, like in a clearing in the forest kind of area. It's a secluded little area. It's all hers.
A young person.
Where you go to groom a young person, indeed. But like he can't help where he goes. The time traveler. I know. And the time traveler is That's Henry DeTamble.
They might not. So sorry.
Yeah. The time traveler is Henry DeTamble, played by Theo James, the Divergent guy that we talked about. And then young and teen Henry are played by Jason David and Brian Altimus, respectively. Get it straight, everybody.
That's right.
Get your papers and pads out. Write it all down. Make sure you got it all straight.
So
we'll just call them Henry and Claire, though.
That's probably a good idea. So I gotta say that I think DeTamble was a very good last name for somebody who just like tumbles through time. Like,
it's
a good.
Should have been a little more on the nose. It could have been DeTumble. That would have been great.
It could have been. But maybe her editor was like, this is a silly name.
And she's like, motherfucker, have you ever read Charles Dickens? He had a character in Oliver Twist named Charlie Bates. And he called him Master Bates all the time. All the fucking time. If Charles Dickens can get by with calling a character Master Bates, then Audrey Niffenegger should have gotten by with, calling him DeTumble.
That's right.
Anyways.
You're right.
No, it is a good name. But yeah, he can't help it. He has this genetic condition that just on occasion, he doesn't know when, like he hasn't pinpointed it, but it happens when he's stressed, happens during big moments, when he's asleep. It happens a lot when he's just asleep.
TV, so he can't even watch his own show. TV. Yeah.
One time having sex, at least depicted in the show.
That's right.
He can't help it. Yeah, that would suck. I mean, he's okay for one moment, and then he's coughing hysterically, and then poop, he just pops away. Clothes remain behind. Everything he's carrying remains behind. All that travels is the organic body. I might
get a little, a bit blue here, but like imagine that happening like right in the middle of orgasm, and then you just drop like in front of somebody, and you just come all over their shirt. Wouldn't that be like the worst?
Or if he's just like in general just pooping or peeing, he's just like he's in a personal private thing. Yeah, that'd be awful. And he doesn't like, that's the thing too, is when he time travels, he doesn't just like casually drop into the past buck naked. he falls.
Yeah.
Like, so many times he'll fall onto something, and it's awful. And, he's got a lot of personal fears.
He hurts himself a lot. There's a lot of really good stunt falls by Theo James or his stunt double.
Right. And there's a lot of good ass, too. We get to see a lot of good ass.
Yeah, he does have...
Which, I applaud.
Yeah.
I'll applaud any show that takes the guts to show more male nudity than female nudity.
That's fair.
But yeah, he through his time travel, there's a time where he goes back and sees a younger, form of himself, and he teaches himself as a kid how to survive, through many different meetings and everything. He teaches him how to steal, how to run away, how to fight, because he knows that these are things he's going to need to know to survive later on. And, most often, though, he doesn't like to know what's going to happen. But there's times where he just can't help it. Right. There's times where he's seen it, or he has to tell himself something, or, friends that are in his circle in the future tell him something, like that kind of thing.
Right.
But yeah, eventually a lot of his time travels are centered around this young girl named Claire. And Claire, as she grows up, develops a crazy crush for him, to the point where she finally meets him when she is an adult, and he has no idea who she is, because he is, he hasn't met her yet in his timeline. Then it just that's when this whole story takes place, basically, is them coming to be this couple, that they know in the future that they are married to, they know each other, they know they love each other, that kind of stuff. And it's a fascinating tale to watch, because it's not clear. Everything's not clear up front, it's like, you would think that it would be just immediately oh, we're in love, I've known you my whole life, and so now you're gonna love me. No, there's a lot of rocks to it's a rocky ground.
Yes. Henry is called and is so an asshole throughout the show. Mm-hmm. And well, okay, older Henry is quite a bit better. He's wizened, and yeah, I'm sorry, I just like the word. And what did I actually want to say? I can't really recall, but
well, it's the reason why the Rocky is because he is so closed off. Because he spends so much time traveling, and he's the only one. He's never met another person who can time travel.
That's right.
So it's hard to talk to people and let them in. Besides himself, yeah.
Which, that's really funny. So, if you're used to time travel movies and the concept of you cause a paradox if you've bumped into yourself in the past. Well, if he's causing paradoxes, I mean, he's the one that's stuck in them.
Right. Yeah.
So this is a completely different take on time travel from almost any other media that I've seen. I can't really recall.
And yet, it's still very similar. It's still very much the same take, too. It's it is definitely a different viewpoint, but he physically can't change the past.
Right.
He's tried many times. One specific event that he always goes back to is the death of his mother, played by Kate Sagal. Katie Sagal.
Yeah, who we've talked about.
Dude, I love Kate Sagal. she was in the those horror shows, right? Midnight Mass and
she was in Midnight Mass, and I guess she
Haunting
was in
Hill House. That was the other one.
Origin of Evil, but I haven't seen that. Oh, she was in Hush.
Oh yeah, that's right. She was in Hush. Also, the screenwriter of Hush, according to Wikipedia. But yeah, she's great. And as the mom, she has a smaller role. But there's some, I don't know if she did the singing for her character. I would assume so. But it's some beautiful singing, because she was a big, was she an opera star, or was she just normal?
Yeah, she was an opera star. Which there was it came at a time where I felt that I kept on seeing depictions of opera and ballet in the shows that we chose to watch. which is that's what I do. I've said on the show before, is light that stuff. Hold on a second. My phone is ringing in the background. You'll get
it. You said you did the lights for opera, and
oh yeah, it just seemed like
Kate Siegel.
It just seemed like everything was referencing opera and ballet for a very small period. And I was like, oh, it's just one of those things. I forget what they call that phenomenon, but
yeah, I mean, it's kind of like you're stuck in a nightmare.
It felt like I was in the Truman Show a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah. I was like, I immediately go to Silent Hill Nightmare, but yeah, that's also Truman Show is very more accurate than that. Yeah, I don't know if she did her own singing, but she was a great opera singer. His mom was, but she was literally beheaded in a car accident, and that was the first time he ever time traveled, was in that car right before the accident. Otherwise he might have died too.
Right.
But yeah, future Henry, as he ages, he constantly time travels back to that moment because it's just such a despairing moment, I guess, in his life. It's like a lightning bolt or a lightning rod, I guess, for his time traveling abilities, and he can't change it. No matter how much he wants to, no matter what he could do, unless all of him throughout every single time traveling period were to alter an event, there's no changing it, because that would be a literal paradox.
Right.
If they were all to decide at the same moment, we're going to try to change this happening, none of them would be able to do that because they wouldn't exist.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't remember if they show a specific. There's one specific moment where Henry tries to change things, where he tries to tell his mom don't drive on this day or something like that.
Yeah.
But she just thinks he's crazy and miss school, and they have an argument, and it's a sad moment kind of thing. And future Henry's looking on well, I told your kid you can't do shit.
Yeah. He had the argument, and that's probably one of the last things he was able to do with her, except for he gets to have conversations with her throughout his life. I'll take that back. So, because he'll pop back to different points in his own life. Sometimes it's been he's seen his parents meet before, if I recall correctly. But maybe we should move on from Henry and talk a little bit more about Claire. Claire is an artist, and you wonder how an artist and a librarian could own this awesome flat. Well, he can remember the lotto numbers from days.
Remember,
he can tell himself the lotto numbers from specific days, and anyhow, they have this amazing flat, and that's the center of all the future events that happen in this too. I just want to get that
right.
Anyhow, as a little girl, she had her own special place in this meadow where her brother, who's an asshole, could not bother her. And isn't he an asshole, or am I thinking of a different show?
I think they're just kids. I don't think he's a.
Well, when they grow up,
they do argue. He's a lawyer.
He's a lawyer. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. He's an asshole. Yeah. And not because he's a lawyer. He's just an asshole. So.
Well, I would just say that they just treat each other like siblings. Most often, siblings we're gonna fight. Not. I mean, there's no good moments. They don't really show a lot of good moments between the two. But that scene in particular at the dining table, it kind of felt like he was goading her because, one, he's a lawyer, and two, he's a sibling. He's just oh, I'm gonna so fucking piss her off right here and make her so goddamn embarrassed in front of her new boyfriend.
Yeah,
I'm gonna grill their ass
asshole.
Yeah,
and. So, she keeps on going to this clearing for some privacy, and then all of a sudden Henry starts popping up. And that first day that he meets her, she runs and steals some of her dad's clothes, brings it back to him. And she also grabs a diary and writes down all the dates that he's going to come and visit in that meadow.
Right.
So That's a pretty interesting part of the show. They keep on coming back to those different dates as Henry is living them, and
it's almost like in Doctor Who, where the Doctor and River Song sync up their time travel diaries.
It is,
and all the different events that they've taken together.
It is almost like that, except you know what? Also, like, I don't know if she's redheaded in both this and the movie, but is she redheaded in the book as well, Claire?
I'm not sure. I read that when I was probably like 10 or 11.
Anyway, I think that it might
almost 2 decades ago
have influenced the Amelia Pond angle too.
Oh, almost certainly. Like, you can. Yeah,
it had to.
Stephen Moffat definitely loves this novel and he loves this story, and I love him for loving it because he does. Again, he can be very convoluted, but the thing with this show is he somehow managed to keep it very concise, even though there's a lot of threads going on.
Yeah,
it doesn't feel convoluted. It feels,
and you keep on coming at it from different perspectives too. Usually Claire and Henry's perspective, but it's sometimes their future perspective, and sometimes their perspective as a kid.
And sometimes they have a couple friends, specifically Gomez, played by Desmond Borges, and was it Charisse? Was she the other one?
Oh, maybe it is. I thought it was Egret, but Egret might be the girlfriend.
I do think Natasha Lopez is Gomez's lady partner.
I guess
Chelsea Frey is definitely the Henry's girlfriend before Claire.
Okay.
Who they have a very rough relationship. Yeah, it's mostly just sex and drugs. I feel like.
Yeah. That's what it feels like, and like yelling at each other, breaking up, and getting back together, kind of stuff.
Yeah, and I think like for Henry, most of the reason he was with her was because she was probably like one of the first people he told about his genetic disorder, his time travel abilities, and so it's comfortable to have somebody who just knew. Even though he wasn't in love with her, it was comfortable to have somebody he could talk to about the crazy stuff that's going on. And that's kind of why he starts to, drift towards Claire, is because he knows in the future, eventually he knows in the future, that they're going to be married.
Right.
And I don't know, how would you not, like, stop yourself, from approaching somebody that you can trust in the future with this kind of information, that kind of, like, emotional...
It's strange, though, because she's the one who's like... Henry? And, is like, oh, yeah, what's, straight out of the gate, we're married in the future? And...
yeah, she's way too excited about it.
She's trying, she's trying not to be, but she's obviously already in love with him. But that's like a lot of the conflict in this is that he's not the person who she fell in love with.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, because she fell in love with older Henry, who is like suave, charming. He's got his shit together. He's got a good look. And on the surface, he seems like a gentleman, like a nice person, like genuinely understands. And underneath the layers, there's a lot of that still angry Henry who's hiding. But like, he gets better as he grows, as he ages,
Yeah.
But... I mean, I kind of like, because as you get towards the end, as she starts to fall for young Henry and starts to see the darker sides of old Henry, specifically in the future, too, like her future version where she's just like, her and that present day Henry for her is like, they're having their own fights.
And I like this being the future of the main timeline. Man, I will say that it is rather concise for a time travel show, but it's still incredibly confusing to talk about.
Right. But all I was saying is I love that parallel, that like, it's not parallel, but like that kind of perpendicular juxtaposition there of like, there's a moment where, she starts to fall for younger Henry, where younger Henry is trying to be older Henry for her. And it's a very nice story moment. I really like that. that clash, I guess, how they hit each other when they're trying to be what the other one wants.
Right.
I love that. It's a nice little moment where they realize, we might be fighting, we might be butting heads constantly, but damn, I love them. It's a nice. I like that. But at the same time, I think we should talk the grooming angle now.
Yep. Yeah, I was thinking that we should too, but maybe we should take a quick soda pop break and then come back to that.
That's fair.
I do have plenty of water.
I'll grab a soda real quick.
Okay, I'm going to go do another thing in a different room. Here we are.
It's the sound of a can opening. If you guys didn't think we were actually getting sodas on these soda pop breaks, you're proven wrong.
That's right. Sometimes it is the truth.
Tater tot cluckers.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was trying to come up with a good potato swear, and that's all I had.
Tater tot cluckers.
Yeah.
Well.
Let's use that to segue into yeah. Let's groom ourselves before we go into the grooming angle. Let's talk about patreon.com/greenandfaces. It's a beautiful website.
This is about hygiene.
Indeed, yeah. If you go down to that, if you type that URL into your search code there, whichever internet platform you use, it'll take you to a beautiful website where you'll find several subscription tiers for our lovely podcast here. That's right. Those tiers, they have their own personal powers, their own personal beauties. But specifically right now, we wanted to promote our exclusive episode coming to you soon. We have recorded it. We're searching for a date to set it in. We haven't decided yet, but it will be out soon, everybody. And if you want to be a part of that episode, you head down to patreon.com/greenandfaceless and sign up for it's a $10 tier. $10 a month. It's not that bad. We put out probably 8 to 10 episodes a month, so it's it's about $1 an episode, a little more maybe.
And then hopefully this monthly episode that's exclusively for you. We're hoping that it will be monthly, is the hope.
Indeed. So we hope to see you there. And now let's talk about grooming little children into awkward relationships.
That's right. So they talk about. I want to preface first that they are very aware of this issue of the story, and they do talk about it a lot. Like Henry is very concerned about it. Like he does not want to feel that way about this relationship with Claire. But the thing is, where he's at in his life, married to Claire, this relationship with this older version of himself already happened. Like he can't change the past, we've already established. So it's not like he's doing this by choice. Because when he met Claire, she was already a grown woman. So it has to be very frustrating and confusing for Henry, and they make us aware of that. So I do appreciate the show for that, but it's still very strange, especially from Claire's, the way that Claire is portrayed in the show.
Right. Yeah, because he doesn't tell her at all until
she kind of
much into her teenage years. Yeah, she kind of figures it out. She's got an idea. He tells her basically vague statements. She'll be like, "Are you with somebody in the future?" Like, "Yeah, I'm married. Yeah, and her name's Claire." And she's like, "Oh, my name's Claire." And he's just like, "Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? Huh? That's so strange." And he tries to keep it from her, but Claire at the same time is an intelligent person in and of her own right. So she works it out. But yeah, it gets weird when she comes of age to in her when she's 16 or 17, and she herself is starting to feel more sexually attracted to this man, as opposed to this is the man I come to the clearing.
When you say that she comes into her own, she starts to be played by Rose Leslie.
Yeah, thankfully.
So we as the audience know that this adult is the one who has these sexual feelings towards this man, this other adult. But we also know that she's portraying I think the first time we see her, she's 15 as Rose Leslie.
Oh, is she 15?
Maybe.
Oof.
Maybe.
That's pushing
But very shortly after that, she starts throwing
pushing
herself at Henry. And it is awkward.
Very awkward, because the poor man time travels naked. So he'll land in the clearing, and he is absolutely reliant upon her having clothes there for him.
Sometimes they're not there.
Yeah. Sometimes he's like, what the fuck are you doing right now? Yeah, so it definitely brings up some awkward moments, but as you say, they try very hard to work around it, and I do appreciate that, because, it could definitely be a very awkward scenario.
Yeah.
And they are, Stephen Moffat, David Nutter, they're very aware of the situation and are trying to skirt about it as well as they can.
Right, without absolutely running away from it. Like, it's like, this is obviously the part of the plot of the movie. So let's, just make them responsible humans about it. So,
occasionally responsible.
Occasionally responsible. Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes Claire is a little irresponsible and manipulates Henry into being equally irresponsible.
This is true. I will say, straight up, there is no underage sex represented in the show. I think there's more underage sex represented in Game of Thrones than this show.
That's what this whole episode's become too. It's just Game of Thrones or Time Traveler's Wife. Which one do you see?
Also, Doctor Who. Just the juggling and those three.
Well, we know my answer on that. Yeah, we know my answer there. Just go and watch the new Who episodes to get the full... Start at Silence of the Library with David Tennant and run all the way up to the last episode of Peter Capaldi, and you're good. You got it all.
Yep. There you go. That is the whole River Song thing.
That's the true Time Traveler's Wife story.
Melody Pond.
Melody Pond. They don't have a word for pond in such and such language. So they wrote River Song.
Oh, boy. So, should we... I guess we talked about the grooming.
Yeah, that's it. Let's. I think we're ready for the closing statements. So as we said, this show has been canceled. It got a lot of negative reviews. I did not, and very rarely do I look up reviews while watching a show, unless it's something I'm very excited for, or want to see what everybody else is thinking, like Doctor Who. Every time an episode comes out, I'm very, very vocal about how I felt about the episode, and I want to see how vocal other people are as well. But I don't typically do that with other shows because I want it to remain my idea.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And boy, was I surprised when I went to the Wikipedia page. Yeah. I enjoyed the show.
Me too.
It's not that bad. It's I liked the chemistry between Theo James and Rose Leslie is pretty solid.
Yeah.
They do a really good job at playing different characters throughout their lives. Occasionally, I will say there are some stale moments when they're playing older versions. It doesn't seem like they really knew their older versions that well as they did their younger versions.
Right.
I mean, not so much Theo James. His 42-year-old version, he knew well. The character in the wheelchair, he was a little stale at times. He didn't know. Yeah. I don't think he knew specifically what his motivations were when he was in a wheelchair.
Yeah, I think the only thing that was visible was tired. And, that's
exactly. Yeah. And, I will admit this show doesn't do well with exposition either. It's another television show where a lot of the exposition is dumped at you literally while the characters are filming a documentary of their lives. So, every episode opens up with them in front of a camera giving like this like brief little interview or synopsis of what's about to happen. You know, it's like, oh, it wasn't always easy being his wife, blah, blah, blah. And they just literally just like dump what's going to happen to you throughout this episode in at the very beginning. So yeah, that's a little bit put offish. I understand why people might have had those kind of issues because those were the small nitpicks I had. Also, I didn't, even though it's a good story format device, every single time there's like a jump in the scenery or a jump in time, they tell you what age Henry and Rose are, or Henry and Claire are. And, you know, I like that, but I also don't like it because there's some times where that text stays on screen for way too fucking long.
I agree. But they also do some interesting things with it. Like one time they left it up there so that when the age was revealed, it was like,
right. It's a Moffat thing because he did that with
later. It could have been done like when they wanted to reveal the age. Like we knew who the character was. Yeah.
Yeah. It's just ridiculous. But I mean, he likes to do those big like text on screen reveals. Like he did that with John Hurt and Doctor Who, where he was just, you know, it's just like introducing John Hurt as
the Doctor.
War Doctor, and it was just like, oh, well, I don't even think he said War Doctor. I think it was just the Doctor, and it was just like, got it, you know. And it took like 10 whole seconds for all that text to appear on the screen. And it was just like, you could just flash that once, and it would be good. But like, Jesus, he likes those long reveals, and you know, Stephen Moffat, if you were listening and you made it all this way to the end, I love you, man. Like, if you want to come on the show, that would be like a dream fucking come true. That would be really
cool, yeah.
Yeah, especially if you're able to talk Russell T Davies into doing it too. If I can meet both of you, I would die.
Maybe
literally.
Neil Gaiman as well, if you're still buddy with him.
Yeah. If you get all three of them in the same room, heart attack immediately for me.
Yeah,
they're all beautiful people.
We'll talk about whatever you want. We'll say be quiet.
But no, I'm looking over at some of these negative reviews. This guy says, the time traveler's wife kills the mood with its overdetermined conceit. You know, I'm just reading this shit off of Wikipedia. And, like, I get it. It is a little bit... Yeah, like, I can understand. Like, people don't like Stephen Moffat's way of writing. It is very, you know, not pretentious, but, like, almost to the level of pretentious, you know, and convoluted. But, again, I think he did this one very well. This is very... well thought out. You can tell he clearly loves this story, and you know, I like the romance, even though it's a little awkward and a little weird in regards to like the age thing.
Yeah,
but fuck it, you know, it's still a fun romance. My only sad thing is, I wanted them to wrap it up in one season.
Yeah,
even if they thought that they could have made a whole show out of this, I wanted them to just do one season. A mini series and be done with it. And since they didn't, we don't get answers to certain things that I wanted answers to, even though I know those answers. But still,
right? Yeah. If we want the answers, we can go read the book or pray that somebody else picks it up. But they won't. Anyhow, no. I agree with you almost 100%. But my only counter is. And let me formulate this correctly. I will say that the first season, where it ended, was a great first season ending. Like, they wrapped up the big drama in that penultimate episode very well.
Right.
There was just some mysteries in the background that they didn't get to that they were obviously planning on doing in the next or later seasons. And that is sad. But they did... There is a nice wrapped up resolution to the major conflict of this, what they're trying to do for this season.
And for those reasons, I'll give it 3 stars. And I will say that I do think, even though it's canceled, it's still worth watching. Maybe you'll watch it and be like, man, these guys don't know fucking television at all. It sucks. You know, maybe it'll be like the rest of the world out there who apparently hated this show. But, like, I really enjoyed it. It was a fun romance. And yeah, the one thing I really wanted answers to, not so much as answers, but more revelation of, is younger Henry and young Gomez. They do not like each other. They clash a lot. But Gomez, once he finds out that him and Henry are friends in the future, he's all for it. He's like, oh, okay, I can figure out how this works, because he likes Claire a lot.
Right.
And so, he wants to be there to help. And in that, if that means, being friends with this man, he's willing to try. And I really love Gomez for that.
Yeah.
And I just wanted more of Gomez. I wanted more of what made them... Yeah. I wanted more of what made them click, what made them become friends. We get one scene that really changes Henry's, mindset about Gomez, and that's great. I just wanted more of that. I wanted more of that chemistry build up, and we don't get a lot of that in this season.
We were in the next season, but we won't. So, in my closing statement, I would say I agree with basically everything that you said. I don't know. The one thing that I disagreed with was I kind of liked the framing of the documentary thing from the future angle. I just wish that it had more relevance to the finale of the episode, and that
I just wish it made sense.
You just wish it made sense. Yeah, I think that might be
because like
it too. Like I think they never really gave the reason why they're doing it. That was the big problem.
And that's Plus, it's like, who the fuck's interviewing them? Because there's times where Claire will be like, she'll answer a question, like she'll be like, so you want to know why this? And it's just like, she'll explain why this. And it's just like, well, who's interviewing you? Are you interviewing, or are you just like
maybe it's
spitballing in front of a camera?
Because they talk about they kind of hint at the end that it happens, that there's a kid that happens, but we don't meet this person.
Maybe.
So maybe it's the kid because Claire typically is quite a bit older in the interview seat. So I don't know. There's a thought.
Yeah. If that's the case, I would like that. That'd be nice.
Yeah, that'd be cool. A little How I Met Your Mother-y.
Kids, I met your mother because I want to fuck your Aunt Robin.
God damn. Secret review of How
Spoilers for How I Met Your Mother, yeah.
So, I give it a full face. I think it's well worth the watch, actually. And if you want to go watch Rose Leslie do a pretty damn good American accent, I mean, this is where you're going to find it. I don't really know what else she's in besides this in Game of Thrones, to be fair. But she, I believe she was using her accent in Game of Thrones. It is a very strong accent. So she does a very good job of sounding like an American. I can still tell that it's someone doing an American accent, but...
Right, that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, but I could tell that with both of them. That he's English as well. Mm-hmm. So, at least I believe so.
Just another case of all these darn English workers coming in to steal our jobs.
God damn it. Yeah, he's English.
I mean, it makes sense, though. I don't know if David Nutter's English, but Stephen Moffat,
Oh, definitely, yeah. And maybe they were able to film Scotland over there or something. I don't know. But
the old Scots. That's another thing. Stephen Moffat, if you've made it this far and you can figure out a way to get me to Scotland, I would love to live there. If there's like a work program or something you can help me get into, that'd be great.
I'd be down for that, too. Relocate. I'm sure Sarah would be down.
Scotland's beautiful from what I've heard.
Yeah. I bet
it's got David Tennant. Well, it's the birthplace of David Tennant. At least it doesn't have him anymore. He lives elsewhere. Not that I know. Jesus. It's also got Ncuti Gatwa, the new Doctor.
That's true.
He's Scottish.
That's true.
And Sylvester McCoy. And Peter McCaldy.
That's right. Yeah.
God, Scotland, you're a beautiful place.
So did you mention Sylvester McCoy? I think you did.
Yes, I did, yeah.
Okay,
yeah,
it dropped a little bit, but I thought you did. All right. Is that our show?
I think it is. I think I've waxed poetic about Doctor Who enough. Definitely go check out Doctor Who. It's a great show. It's so worth it.
But this review wasn't about Doctor Who or Game of Thrones. It was about the time traveler's life. And I do think you should go check it out. I think that a lot of people will like this, especially if you like A, romance,
Apparently
and
not.
B, time travel.
Apparently they don't like it though.
I know. I don't really know why people don't like this. I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed watching it with my wife. So there you go.
I enjoyed watching it alone. I am the Green Traveler, sole survivor on Earth from Gorsh.
Oh no!
I'm also the only Gorshian to come to Earth, so it's a good record. Earth hasn't killed me yet.
First and last. So.
Oh no! Hopefully not.
That's fair.
Hopefully some other brethren of mine gets banished here.
Yeah. I am the Faceless Leone. I think there's a couple more like me. We've mentioned like the Blob is my cousin, and but I don't know.
There's experiments out there.
Yeah, they kind of spread us out. I think they're Uncle Blobby. Uncle
Blobby.
Bob. I think maybe it was Kevin or Tim. It might have been Tim.
Oh, I was thinking Frank.
Maybe.
Tim sounds right.
Yeah. I don't remember his name.
That's okay.
It's been a long time since I've seen him.
I don't know a lot of my... Yeah.
I just always called him Uncle Blobby, even though he didn't like it. And also, they were really afraid to have us all live in, one state, because then we might just form together into a conglomerate and take over the country.
That'd be pretty rad. He tried. Uncle Blobby tried.
Uncle Blobby tried. He did. And the documentary...
2 films, even.
Yeah. They made 2 documentaries about it. Well, that's our show. Safe travels and good night. Green and Faceless on the Couch is a proud production of FictionWorks 19. Are you a fan of the show? Feel free to contact us at greenandfacelessfans@gmail.com or visit our Patreon page at patreon.com/greenandfaceless. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe, or rate us on Apple Podcasts. Thank you so much for listening.